We're mobile.
Take Fox Sports 1350 with you using iHeartRadio.
KTDD Riverside, San Bernardino. Fox Sports Radio, 1350 AM.
Yo, what up? This is Sendog from Cypress Hill. You're listening to me on IE Sportsnet all day long, all day strong, you heard?
Yes, we are back in the great city of Riverside at the iHeartRadio studios. It's IE Sportsnet, connected by Boost Mobile on Fox Sports 1350. I am your host, Eternal.
And I am the one and only Coach B. You know, when it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here. This is one thing that we love, Eternal. The reason that one of the driving forces for us creating IE Sportsnet was, as you know, you were born and raised in Riverside, lived here all your life. I'm an LA import. And when I came here, I realized
Make sure you remind the audience about that you're an LA import.
Well, actually, Downey. But when I came here, I said that there wasn't really something that can show the tradition of sport out in the Inland Empire. And I know you're excited about this. UCR made an amazing hire, I thought, personally. And not only is it a great hire, an alumni has gone on and done some incredible things in the majors. We're joined in studio by UCR baseball coach. He doesn't need an introduction, but I'll go ahead and do it. Troy Percival on IE Sports and on Fox Sports 1350 with Coach B Internal. Thank you so much for being in studio with us, Coach.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Coach, I mean, you've been around the area. You're familiar with the area. Now,
born and raised.
Yeah. Now, we were talking about it a little bit in the green room back there. You're familiar with Moreno Valley when it was Sunny Mead.
Oh, yeah, Sunny Mead, Edgemont, that was all me.
I was going to say. I was telling them about that. I said, well, Edgemont was this little segmented area, but the rest was Sunny
You didn't
Mead.
want to go to.
We had people over there. But no, so I mean, how long? I mean, you've been around that. So you're from Fontana, is that correct? Did I read that correctly? How did that work?
That's just where the hospital at I was born.
There you go. I'm about to say,
Kaiser?
Kaiser.
See, that's where my daughter was born.
Well, everybody, I tell everybody, when you were born, it was either two things. You were at Parkview or you made the drive to Kaiser.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. So.
Oh yeah, no, I was born out there, but I was born and raised in Moreno Valley.
Okay. So now let's jump into this. Talk to us about that moment you got this coaching job and what it meant to you, because I know that must have been something for you. So just to come in, you've had success as a professional baseball player. You've obviously came up as a player there, and then all of a sudden now you get tell us about that process, how it became you becoming the coach over at UCR.
Well, I think the fact that I've remained local, and I love local. I love Riverside. I've never left the area. I think the furthest I've ever got is Corona. I lived in Corona for about 2 years.
Wow.
But, otherwise, I've been all about the Inland Empire. I got the opportunity to coach my alma mater out at Moreno Valley High School.
Wow.
Took them to the playoffs for the first time. I couldn't tell you how many years. That was such a thrill. I loved that job. But all of a sudden, this job came available. Doug Smith, who actually coached me when I was here, gave me a call, said he was going to go ahead and retire, and I needed to put my hat in the ring, and I did that. And very fortunately, I've got it, and I've got an opportunity to build this program back to something special.
Fantastic. And then after 3 years as a player at UCR, you were drafted after your junior year by the California Angels in the 6th round of the 1990 amateur draft. But you played catcher. So tell us about that transition of catcher to pitcher. I mean, talk to us about how that worked.
Well, it worked because I couldn't hit. So they took a pretty good gamble, drafted me as high as they did. I went in the 6th round, and I played 1 year as a catcher. And they took me to instructional league, which is typically your better players in the minor leagues that you have plans for. They took me there, and then they started asking me when I wanted to pitch because they saw that swing and said, all right, which is why you don't see me touching the UCR hitters. I figured if I couldn't do it, I'm not going to teach it.
Right.
I handle all the pitching.
I heard that.
And the funny thing is I tried to play baseball. You couldn't hit. I couldn't play. So
period.
And then, Coach, just give me a moment when you were in the majors. Incredible accomplishment, but how does it feel when you're at Game 7 of the 2002 World Series, you're on the mound, and you get the last 3 outs to give the Angels that title? What does that feel like?
It's pretty surreal when you're out there.
Right.
Learning how to slow the game down through all the years that I had been there, and I looked up in the stands and saw those thunder sticks going and banging, and it can be pretty overwhelming. I actually took the time to step back, take a deep breath, and said, this isn't happening to the Angels again.
Right.
God bless Donnie Moore. But that always set in my mind about how that affected him when it didn't go well for him when the Angels were looking to go to the World Series.
Right.
And I actually stepped back and said, no, this isn't happening again.
Right.
We had a guy on base and said, no, we're going to finish this off right now.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And then, Coach, when you, like we said, you're an Inland Empire native, born at the same hospital as my daughter. I love you, Brianna. And you graduated from Moval. You played your college ball at UCR. You said you've been in the area. You've been local. I want to know, one, what is it like to be, now you're the skipper. What is that like? And do you ever embarrass any of your players getting on the mound and show them I still got it?
Well, my first 2 years, yes. I went out there and I pitched. I probably threw 40, 45 innings over that first 2 years.
Nice.
Not only trying to show the pitchers, this isn't that difficult, but to show the hitters, you have to have an approach when you're at the plate, because I can just use my brain and get you out. And
right.
Boy, it got embarrassing at some point because I'm going, man, I'm not even throwing very well and getting people out. And that's something we've really been pounding into these guys, is to have an approach at the plate. Know what the count is, know what the situation is, know who's hitting behind you, know what the other team is trying to do. And we still haven't got that fully implemented the way I want it yet. I want the kids to know the situation as opposed to, hey, Coach, what are they trying to do right here? And you have to go through the whole scenario with them of, you know who's behind you. You know what his out pitch is. You know you have an open base. And I think that's just the next level we have to get to, is the kids have to recognize, understand the situation, and then once you know that, you know what you're trying to do. Hey, he's trying to induce a ground ball, so he's going to be throwing me something underneath the zone when I really should be looking for something up in the zone, look for a mistake and hit it. Then you stop hitting in double plays and you hit that fly ball deep center field and get that guy in from third.
And that's good. And one thing that we love, because we spent some time with A.D. Jones, and this is something that when I read about you when we were getting ready to do this interview, this is something that only comes from an alumni. One of the great things that I read is when you arrived in 2015, you donated 4 flat screen TVs, put them up in the locker room. You converted the storage room into a training room and furnished it with equipment donated by you and some of your friends. Now, when you're a World Series guy, you can call and say, hey, I need some stuff donated. And then you got the school to replace the entire stadium infield. How has that helped with you upgrading the facilities with your recruiting?
Well, that's the big thing, is when recruits come out and actually we can hold our heads high and say we've got things that other schools don't have. Right. We have
like a World Series champ.
Yeah. that along with the other little things. Our locker room is as good as anybody in the Big West. We have an on-field weight room, which not everybody's got. Most people don't. It's very functional. We've got 4 TVs in the locker room. We've added TVs into the coach's office, so when recruits come in, they can come in and go, wow, this isn't the mid-level I was thinking I was getting. Right. We're trying to become first class, so that if you go on a big-time recruiting trip, and a lot of these kids will go out and see 4 or 5 schools at a time, we're not embarrassed. You come out to Riverside, you're going to see what we really are.
Right.
That's good stuff. And then Troy, also, again, about you just being a local guy, I just have a few comments just from people that were here local. And one of the guys says his grandfather was a battalion chief for the Riverside City Fire Station 1, and he worked with your father. He says there, and he said that you were really, really nice. He said you came by, signed some baseballs for him, and he said just from that experience, he said he's always going to be an Angels fan. And then there was another young lady said that she used to do your wife's hair. So so you have all these great, and that had to be special for you. When you come from being from here local, I remember, us, just me here, being here, like that was the only thing we had going up to the Angel games. I never really went to the Dodger games much, but just going to those Angel games kind of gave us that connection. So that must feel great, you being from the hometown, and then you getting a chance to play, not even 45 minutes up the freeway, and you're playing, on a huge stage in front of some of your friends and family.
Got to be difficult for ticket requests.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I know that must have been crazy, but talk to us a little bit about that. That had to be surreal as well, just you kind of coming up all the way, watching the Angels come up, and then all of a sudden you're right there at the defining moment for the franchise.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. Not very many people get the opportunity to play where they grew up.
Right.
I thank my Angels every day in my own head that they allowed me to do that. And you're right. Yeah, the first 3 years, ticket requests were out of this world. And fortunately, back then the Angels had that opportunity because there wasn't many people in the stands. But as we started doing better and making a name for the franchise, tickets got a little harder to come by. And at that point, though, I think most of the people understood.
Right.
Okay, we crushed this guy for about 3-4 years.
And he already hooked us up.
And then it gets to the point where, Major League Baseball changed and you're only allowed 4 tickets.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And then you got to start borrowing it, so you just stop answering your phone.
Right.
I could imagine.
That must be crazy.
And once again, we're joined in studio by UCR baseball coach Troy Percival, World Series champion.
Put some respect on the man's name.
On IE Sports and on Fox Sports 1350 with Coach B and Eternal. Now, Southern California, more specifically the Inland Empire, is a hotbed when it comes to baseball. Like we said, one thing that was big out here is baseball and NASCAR.
Yes.
So, and like you said, you're dealing with recruiting. And one thing I didn't think about, again, is you're in a 70-mile radius of UCLA, USC, Cal State Fullerton, and UC Irvine. How has it been for you when you're going out on the recruiting trail? When you tell a kid, sign here, son, do you put the ring on, the World Series ring, and say, sign here, son, just show them the ring?
You know what? I try to keep everything in UCR perspective.
Nice.
I figure that most people that are coming in, they know who I am and what I've done. You are starting to find out now as the kids, they weren't around when we won the World Series.
Right,
so,
yeah. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
So I leave that to my other coaches when they talk to them. I don't typically like to talk about my past a whole lot, but I try to talk about the future and what UCR is and what we're becoming. And
nice.
It is a difficult deal when you're recruiting against. Those are good programs,
Right.
and not to mention their location. But we do have things to offer that they don't. I mean, and that's a fact. We coach a little differently. We are all in it together. We are very player-friendly coaching staff.
Yeah.
We're always available, so you never have to just not have somebody available to throw BP to you. We're at the field. We are ready. We have a lot of rules we have to follow. We have to stay within our Carolog rules and all that, but we are always available. And, it's a very family atmosphere out here.
That's good stuff, man.
And who are some of the players? I know with the season we talked a lot about about your success and whatnot, but who are some of the players on the team that maybe you recruited or you got there and they're becoming your guys?
Well, that transition's starting to happen now. I mean, obviously I hit the junior college market when I first got here. I had to kind of make it my team. So we cleared out quite a few players that first year that didn't fit with the way I do things, which is team first, team first, team first.
Right.
And now you're starting to see that influx, and next year you'll really start to see that this is an Inland Empire team, and we just bring outer edges in from different areas. So the base and heart of this team is all Inland Empire, from San Gorgonio to Menifee, a little bit of Temecula, and a lot of Riverside.
Nice.
You're going to see probably 20 to 22 on our roster that are all within a 30-mile radius.
That's the thing right there. We talk about that all the time, is about getting these kids, making these kids stay home. And I think, it just hats off to you just for having that foresight. Also, a quick question I want to ask you. Have you thrown against Barry Bonds?
Oh, I have. I've thrown against him. He's got the biggest home run, I think, against me, but I got him back. Yeah, I got him in spring training and told him I was going to strike him out on 3 pitches, and it didn't take 3, but we got to like 6 or 7. I finally got him.
You finally got him.
I kind of consider him a local guy, with his family connections, and he's always been really good to me, and I've had some good experiences with him.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Thing. And then one thing we want to talk about, you're going to be inducted. This is an honor. You're going to be inducted into the UCR Hall of Fame. Can you give us a little your thoughts about that, and what does that mean to you?
It's funny is I kind of forget what I've done in my past. I'm pretty entrenched in what I'm doing right now, which is UCR baseball, and sometimes it's nice to be reminded of what I have done, but I think the biggest thrill for me is getting the opportunity to go in with Doug Smith, who coached me when I was here, and I got to go to Jack Smitherin's last year, and they had a lot to do with setting the base of who I became as a baseball player and as a person. So to get to go in on the same ticket with Doug Smith is going to be a lot of fun for me.
That's pretty good.
Well, I tell you what, Troy, thank you so much for making out the time today. You're the guy. Now there's a tournament coming up, but we want to make sure we plug that as well. Is there
a clinic.
Oh, no, that's going on right now.
Excuse me.
All of my players are out doing the El Protector clinic right now. There should be about 300 kids out there. We do it every year. And, it's all right. I'm getting to miss the beginning, the hardest part, where you're setting up all the stations and all that. But I'll be going straight from here over to that, and then hopefully get a chance to go catch my son's game out in Brea.
Fantastic. And, speaking of that, that's one thing I want to talk about. As a kid, you were coached by your father, Richard.
Yes.
And then I've coached my son at football. I know your dad can laugh at me because he said my son got to the World Series. So hopefully my son, I coach my son at football. One of the things that what are some of the things that you remember your dad teaching you? And like you said, your son Cole now, I hear he's a stud now. I hear he's the guy. So what are some of the things your dad may have taught you that you're turning around trying to show to your son?
Probably the things that made me who I was. It was always my toughness, my inability to quit. You know, my dad was a fireman and a painter. He was a football player. He didn't know a whole lot about baseball, but I just always sat into me. You know, I got hurt one day and I was ready to go play, and he said, "Are you hurt or you injured?
Right.
You go play."
Right.
And I was like, it was always ingrained in me is if you can go out there, you go out there for the team. You're not doing this for you. And you know, that fight that he gave me, I think, is what separated me from other guys that might have thrown better than me, played better than me. It's just I would not quit and just kept going. Always the first one to the park, the last one to leave.
Nice.
And I think those things that he instilled in me made me what I was.
And one thing that I always found funny when I coached, you know, a lot of times other dads, we would always say our kids don't listen to us. You know, they don't want to listen to us. We're trying to tell them the way. You know, you have a World Series ring. So you and I know, and kids, you know, they don't know about the World Series. Your son didn't see it. But is that something you like? You're my son, man. You should at least know this.
He is the hardest person I've ever had to coach. I mean, things that I can teach somebody else in 2 weeks take me 2 months to teach him.
Yeah.
It wasn't until just finally this year that he's looking at all the success people that I've worked with are having. And he's like, "Dad, can you do that to me?" I was like, "I've been trying to do that
from
right?
day one."
Yeah. So my son Brian II, listen to this.
About to say, now, real quick, I know you got to get out of here. Huge, big thing coming up for you. 5th-rate Cal State Fullerton at the house next weekend to start Big West play. Give us your thoughts on that game. You know, 'cause I know you got to get ready to get out of here, but maybe kind of give us the thoughts on that game because it's going to be a huge game for the program.
It is. I mean, Fullerton is obviously the most storied program in our conference. Rick Vanderhook runs a big-time program. He gets big-time players. And I think last year we kind of set the tone that we can play with you. We did get swept. They beat us 2-1.
Right.
Another game was a 1-run game, and you know we're there.
Yeah.
We just have to take that step and beat them. We've beaten everybody else in the conference. So this is the team that we finally have to make that move on, and hopefully we get Mark Contreras back. That's he's our most dynamic player out there, and we've been without him for the last 12 games. If we can get him back, I think we have a chance to go out there and show them what we're made of.
Coach, thank you so much for your time, man. Again, I mean, hats off to you. This is a local guy. I've been doing some really great things. It's been a pleasure. We've been trying to get you in here for a while, but so thank you so much for making out the time for us this morning.
Well, it's easy. All you got to do is give me a call. I love doing this stuff. So
we'll do it.
Let's get that Inland Empire going.
And who does Cole play for again?
He's Riverside Poly.
There you go. I love it. Eternal was a Ramona Ram.
But hey,
I got a Ram on my team, MVP of his league last year, Daniel Martinez.
I know exactly who that is over there.
There you go.
The coach is a good friend of mine, so good stuff.
There you go. So we definitely appreciate it. World Series champion.
Man.
Now, he was the guy on the mound that got out the last 3 outs to win that World Series.
Yeah.
Local native from Moreno Valley, born at the same hospital as my daughter, so I love that. UCR baseball coach Troy Percival, and UCR alumni. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
in,
you,
Coach.
sir.
Thanks for having me.
We have to have you in again. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Coach, you may not want to hear this. We're going to have Dodger News next. So
Now they're local. I like them.
there you go.
There it is.
So you're listening to IE Sportsnet, connected by Boost Mobile with Coach B.
And in Eternal, when it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here, live on Fox Sports 1350.
You're listening to IESportsNet.com, the Inland Empire Sports Authority.
You are tuned into the new home for IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. with Coach B.
And Eternal, when it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here.
On Fox Sports Radio 1350 a.m. IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning, 8 a.m.